Hi everyone, I am with Karina Kayes in the studio today, and I'm super excited because she's going to share her ADHD story with us. And I met Karina way back,
92?
92. And the story is kind of cool because we were working together. I was with IBM at the time, and Karina was with Telecom, and I think I got hired by Telecom and then IBM and then Telecom and then IBM for a whole period of about 2 years. And I got to know her during that time. She actually knitted a jersey for my daughter, who you can see here, Smarat. And
long ago.
how you lose touch with people over the years, and we kind of lost touch really. And I left IBM. I had another baby, and life went on. And then I was actually just thinking about Karina. And lo and behold, my daughter runs into you at this at a sewing function, Frock Tales, and you were there. And she said, "Oh, Mum, I met this woman, and she was really cool." And then realised that she'd knitted a jersey for me all these years ago, and you guys know each other, so we reconnected.
It was really good.
Yeah, and then we just got to go to Frock Tales as a group.
A couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, which was amazing. Frock Tales is this incredible event where women who sew get together. My daughter sews. And people who sew.
Yeah, people who sew.
Yeah, actually good correction there.
Yeah.
That's a terrible gender bias, wasn't it? Oh
No, but it's just what it is. People try to think that boys sew. Boys sew.
Yeah.
Boys are really good at sewing.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
they got really good spatial vision.
And so are trans.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and all of the things.
Yeah.
But I am so excited to have Karina in the studio because I discovered when we reconnected this time around that we're both ADHD.
Oh my God, it smacked us in the face, really.
It did, didn't it? Oh my goodness. And then we've got all these parallels and it's no wonder that we formed this really quick and easy connection when we worked together all those years ago. It was way before I knew I was ADHD.
Same.
In fact, I didn't know that the baby I was carrying that time was going to be ADHD.
Yeah.
That was my son, Jordan, and all of the richness that brought to my life and the journey of understanding and growing that and being a parent of a child with ADHD, the challenges, the struggles, advantages, some of the things I'm only just learning now that I'm at this stage of my life, and I can dedicate more of it to research and understanding it better. But I just wanted to hear Karina's story and not mine. So today is about you and a little bit about how you discovered your ADHD, what have been some of the challenges for you, and then what have been some of the things that are actually awesome about.
Yeah.
Apart from getting to meet and know me.
Yeah. It's funny though, I think as you get older, because I'm 58 now, so as you get older, you are way more aware of your ADHD and you're way more aware of how you can handle it and how you can control it, because the other thing that hits me is RSD, which is a bit tough sometimes, but when I was younger, hideous. Used to be just a really bad thing to try and control, but as I've gotten older, I know that it's just the RSD kicking in, and I'm not going to be it's a real threatening, horrible thing, put it that way, and it's quite jarring. But as an adult, you learn to deal with it better. But when you see people, and you can pick up, as I've gotten older, I pick up the signals, and I can tell. We did a kitchen renovation last year, a house renovation last year, and the builder, he was really cool, and I was just watching him. A couple of things, he had a little bit of a tick. His feet kept going like this, and I'm like watching him, and I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if he's ADHD. Anyway, he was. So you just gravitate towards people that are like you. Yeah. Because you've gone through a whole lifetime of being treated differently. And I know that sounds really bad, and I don't mean differently as in, oh, you're weird and you're not. By the way, I think I'm absolutely normal and everyone else is batshit crazy. But I've always thought that I think I have 100 things are going on in my head. So I was diagnosed in a very weird way. I won't go on about it, but I was diagnosed in the mid-2000s, and I kept it hidden for a long time. I didn't want people to know. My family don't know, so if they watch into this,
So it's interesting. You've been masking as long as I
have. Oh my God, masking is so exhausting.
It is.
It's really hard. No, it's not. I'm not going to say it's hard, but you have to be someone you're not.
Yeah.
And then you get home at the end of the day, and then you can just be you and a blur. But you go through life, and then the weird thing, I don't know if this is just me, and you can tell me if this has happened to you as well. I cling on to people. So I'll see someone and I think, oh, they're a really nice person. I'm going to make them my best friend. And then you just gravitate towards that person, and you put everything into them. I see the good in everybody, and that's and that can be a detriment as well. Like it'd be really detrimental when I'm really invested in someone. I can't think of I would never talk about anyone behind their back. I would never be horrible to people. I would lots of things. If I truly believe that people should be accepted for how they are, and I think that's a lifetime of being. I'm not going to say put down, but a lifetime of being told, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you're too loud, you're too this, you're too that. I swear, one of my things is swearing. Always getting pulled up for swearing. It's just like, oh, for fuck's sake, just really. I'd rather be known as someone who swears than be known as someone who's horrible. So, and I just find that working for people, I was in the corporate world. I was a square peg in a round hole. Is that what you say? I was so, and you would
say a star-shaped pig in a round hole.
I'd start a job, and my jobs in the corporate world were so. Telecom was the longest one. I was 5 years with you guys.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years with another telecom job. And you get in there and everyone like embraces you and you're like fresh, the breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And then they start pulling you in. So when I was in sales, I was all in sales for a long time. Then you go in and you do sales jobs and you're getting all the sales and everything's going. And then the people around you, how come she's getting sales? Because she works her ass off. Because I think we have, as ADHD, we have an enormous capacity for a massive amount of work.
We do. We can't work slow.
No, everything has to be 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And we absorb a lot. So I remember having one boss a lot in the corporate world. I remember having one boss and he used to give me work to do. And I'd go, and he'd go, can you do blah, blah, blah? And I'd go, okay, why? Why I was asking him why, I wasn't being difficult. I wanted to know what he wanted it for because I could find an easier way to do it. He goes, no, I just do the job. I said, yeah, but if I can understand what the end result is, I'll get it done faster.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I think I lasted there 18 months. You just keep getting pulled down. My best boss ever was at Westpac, one of my Westpac jobs. And he just said, whatever you do, just don't make it illegal. He goes, it can't be illegal. So just, if you get arrested, I don't want to know. I'm like, okay. And my sales were amazing, but then he stopped being my boss and a new boss came in and you get hemmed in. It's like, you can't do it this way, you can't do it that way. It's just, why not?
And they put a lot of bureaucracy in this so you're done, and then that really frustrates us. I remember actually it was at that job, and I was with IBM and you were with Telecom, and we were facilities managing the IT department for Telecom back then. And I can remember, yes, I were in IT with the IT girls. And I remember one of the things I had to do was to write this project plan. This is back before AI and back before templates were a thing. And so I had to write a project plan. So I really carefully pulled together this project plan. And I was kind of proud of it in the end, even though I'd never written one before. I knew what needed to be in it. I'd researched it. I'd read about it. And I spoke to other people about it. And they'd all told me what I needed to put in there. And so I put it in there and I handed it over to the manager to sign off on. Not Mike Preble, but the manager of this particular project where we were implementing an automated storage management system because they'd lost some data for a court case. And so my job was to fix that problem. And they called me the national media manager. Sounds great, right?
Yeah.
But actually all I was doing was coordinating the fact that we didn't lose data for Telecom. And I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. But this project plan, it was about 50 pages long and it was in depth and it was going to require the organisation to spend a fair bit of money on some new technology. And so it needed to be in depth. And I sort of shaking in my boots when I gave it to my boss. And the next day he walked past my desk and I'm sort of like looking at him. I'm not going to say the names. I'm terrified because I've never written one of these things before, right? And he slams it down on my desk and he looks at me and he goes, did you swallow a fucking dictionary? And storms off. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
What the fuck?
And what I'd done is I'd overachieved.
You put big words in there.
Yeah, because I asked
words.
Mike to read it later because I said, what have I done wrong, Mike? I need to understand. He was the boss. And he said to me, this is really good. I've never read one. It's so good.
Wow.
And I had to thank
Kerry. He was a dick. So, if you're listening to this, Kerry, I love you. You were horrible.
So like it, you know, we had this rejection sensitivity disorder.
Oh my God!
It sat down on my desk. I had the worst imposter syndrome. I then assumed I had no idea what the fuck I was doing, and I just basically slunk out of there. I stayed in the role. I actually got to do the thing. They all got all signed off, and it went really, really, really well. I got to fly up and down the country and make sure we didn't lose any more data and manage all the storage and do all the things. But it was not without its trials because back then being a female in IT was difficult enough. But I was also an ADHD female in IT, but I didn't know I was ADHD.
This is the thing. And the RSD, when that hits, when someone rejects you, and it's water off someone else's back, it can live with us for weeks. just weeks. Like
Yeah.
the initial fear that subsides, but you go over and over and over in your head, like constantly. You have 1,000 conversations in 1 minute
Yeah.
about what
totally.
went wrong, and it's not it's
Yeah.
not something that went wrong,
Yeah.
and you just get hemmed in all the time.
Yeah. I remember the next manager who came in, and I know I should be talking about you, but I'm just talking about.
No, we're talking about
for a
we're talking
little
about worse.
second. The next manager that came in, and I won't say his name, but his initials are PB, and I'm in reception, and I'm running this project. I'm the national media manager, so I should be in all the meetings about any of the strategic decisions that have been made about IT and how we back up our systems. And he had these international guests coming in who had provided the software that we bought for my project. So that's a key meeting for me to be part of. And I'm in reception, and I've got my best outfit on. I happen to be wearing patent leather shoes, and this manager introduces me to the people who I know are coming, who kind of know me because I've chatted a lot to them. Back then, we didn't have any online face meetings. We couldn't do that. We didn't have the technology or anything like that. But he said,
Meetings
this,
were
of
in
course,
face.
is Sandy Hall, who's running the project. And Sandy, can I just compliment you on your patent leather shoes? And I'm like, this is weird, but thank you. And he said, because I love it when you're wearing patent leather shoes because I can see what colour your underwear are. And he said that in front of these international foreign guests. And I'm just mortified. I remember going bright red. And the receptionist, Anne Conboy, is this darling friend of mine. I turn around and look at her, and her eyes are bulging out of her head. She doesn't know which way to look. And back then, you didn't have video cameras on mobile phones or any of that stuff, because she said, imagine if I could have filmed that and replayed it. That would have been hilarious. And I'm like going, I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah.
I can't believe he's just done that. And what an awful thing to do in front of my international guests that he's just introduced me to.
This was the 90s
Oh my word!
when sexual harassment was rife.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
It really was. And there was, and I remember even talking to Mike Preble about, I want to make a complaint. I actually want to complain about that. That was ridiculous.
No.
And he said to me, look, I totally get you, and that was really wrong. But trust me, I will deal with it. And he did.
Oh, you know, because he was really good. So Mike Preble, I only found out recently that he didn't hate me. I thought he hated me. He was my boss for, well,
Is that your rejection sensitivity disorder on that full red alert?
because he was a bit of a grump. Sorry, Mike, if you're listening to this, but you were a little bit grumpy. He was a bit of a grump, and I thought he hated me. When I resigned, he was really shitty, and he slammed the resignation down and stormed out of the room. I thought, there you go. But anyway, I found out he didn't want me to leave, so that was nice. What was I going to say about I can't remember what I was going to say about Mike Preble. Oh, it'll come back to me.
He was such a good leader.
He was excellent, actually. Oh, that's what I was going to say, because we had a secure site, and sometimes I used to sit on reception. Part of my job is if someone wasn't there and we're on reception, I used to start at 7. I used to drive these guys nuts. They used to do night shift, and I used to bowl in at 7 o'clock in the morning. Hi, everybody! La, 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 la. And I was as bright as a button, and they were like, oh, shut up. You're too loud.
We're just on night shift.
Yeah, we want to go home. And I'm like, but we had a guy come in. He was really good at confrontation, was Mike Preble. We had a guy come in, and they had to sign their names and everything. And these dicks came in, and they were just being idiots. And they were going into the computer centre, and I looked at the sign-on because they were giggling as they were signing. Oh, whatever, it's just your name. And one had put Mickey Mouse. And so I thought, here we go. So I said, oh, Mike. I said, one of those guys has signed in as Mickey Mouse. I said, somehow I don't think that's his name. And he stormed out the back. He just stormed out, the door flew open. He went out, and the guy was kicked off site for being a dick.
Mike was good. That manager that I was referring to before, he was gone the next day.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. There you go.
And then I'll never forget the other time walking into the computer room, and
do you think Mike was ADHD? Because he sort of got us.
I think he might have been. Actually, Mike Preble, if you're listening, let us know.
Let us know, because you got us.
Yeah. We didn't know we were at the time. But I remember I rushed into the computer room, and on the big console screen, there was porn playing. And I was horrified. And there were 2 female computer operators off in the corner. And then there were 3 guys sitting around the porn screen. And I just said, turn that friggin' thing off right now. And the little girls in the corner looked across at me like terrified. And I said, this is really inappropriate, and I'm reporting this right now.
Oh, God.
And so they turned it off. I went upstairs, reported it. It was dealt with. They were gone the next day. So it's really interesting, though, that those 2 little girls didn't feel empowered to do anything about it.
I know.
It was just
It was the 90s.
Those were the 90s.
Yeah,
Goodness.
we were told not to talk about stuff like that.
Yeah.
We were told not to complain.
No. But I don't know. I had this sort of like justice thing in me that I couldn't turn off.
No, there's our ADHD because I got told I was working for Westpac Merchant Services for a long time. Well, a long time for me before I got kicked out. And I never got fired. I just had to resign because people got sick of me. And one of my bosses said to me, this was the boss who said, as long as I don't do anything illegal, he said to me, what we've noticed from management, he says, if someone is, my hair's really annoying me today, sorry. If someone is being treated as an underdog or is getting bullied, he goes, we just see you come out and you do, without even people knowing, he goes, you just go into full defense mode. And he goes, you just protect them. He goes, you just turn everything around. He goes, you don't even have to like that person, he says, but you have such a strong sense of fairness.
Yeah.
And I've always had a strong sense of fairness.
I think this is one of the traits of ADHD. We're kind of guileless as well because we could never understand how someone could be deliberately mean to someone else.
No,
and we see it.
Yeah,
we pick up on it, and it really triggers us.
And I can pick up on. I don't know. I think of it as a burden and a curse. I can pick up on bad vibes. I just think of them as bad vibes from people really early, before they even know they're bad vibes on me. I can walk into a room and I can feel if something's not going right, and I can feel. You just pick it. I don't know how to explain it because unless you experience, you don't know how to explain it. You just feel something's not right. Yeah. But the corporate world. I think my last job was I went into recruitment. I did recruitment for a long time. Remember, I wanted to do recruitment when we were at I always wanted to. So anyway, I had my own recruitment business for a while. That was my first self-employed job. I had to get out of the corporate world because seriously, being
inside a system.
Yeah, it was really hard because they expect you to work one way, and I just couldn't work with them. I mean, mind you, that goes back to school. My school reports, I wasn't stupid. I'm not a dumb person by any stretch of the imagination. But to be told constantly you're not trying hard enough, well, I'm not going to try if something's batshit boring. Like, seriously, if it doesn't interest me, I'm not going to try. If something interests me, I'm in 100%.
Yeah.
And school just didn't interest me. Yeah. The subjects didn't interest me. I couldn't understand. I've never used trigonometry as an adult. Just so.
Have you ever used quantum physics?
I think I know, like multiplication and division. Yes, I've used that quite a lot as an adult, but all this other shit you got forced to learn. Yeah, it was just rubbish, and I could never understand the point of it. But that was another thing you got told off for not understanding the point of things. But and always getting told that. So you grow up marting because everyone has a go at you, and you take that into adulthood, and you're always looking for someone to have a go at you. And I don't mean nasty. I don't think they're being nasty, but it's like, oh, you're so loud, or you're so this, or you're so that. As an adult now, when they go, I go to yoga, which I absolutely love, and I've been going to yoga 24, 25 years. No, I don't. I'm not very bendy. That's normally the next question. But I go to yoga, and there was a new couple had started coming along, and I was laughing at the goat with someone one day before class started, and he turned around and he said, "You're so loud," and I just went. I just went, fuck off. Yeah. Like, seriously, fuck off. Yeah. He's never spoken to me since. And I'm fine with that because he's not my guy. Like, he's not one of the people that I like. And I know that there's people in this world that you can't get on with. But don't say that to someone. I would never go up to someone if I heard someone being silly or loud or laughing. I would never say to someone, you're too this. Because as a lifetime of living with being told that, you just understand that you just don't say that to people. Yeah. But I'm really glad that I don't understand when people are mean. I can't get on their level because I'm not that level. I'm never going to be that level.
You're never going to be on that level. No, you have this lovely trait of guilelessness, which is something that that all of my ADHD clients and friends and family members all have. Yeah. And I remember my mum talking about my father in that light because I've only diagnosed him posthumously and after he died. I wish I'd known when he was alive, but it never came out and it just wasn't relevant. I did share my diagnosis with my parents, but my mum discovered she was Asperger's, and so it gave us a real rich language because she saw everything as black and white. And
oh my God! Didn't. Yes, no, that's that's what I do. I see everything as black and white. Yeah. I take everything at face value. So when someone says, "I'm going to the supermarket to buy a chicken," I expect them to go to the supermarket and buy a chicken. Don't tell me 3 days, did you buy your chicken? No, I didn't end up going to the supermarket, but you said you were going to the supermarket to buy a chicken. And I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but that's how I operate. So if someone says to me, I'm going to call you and I'm calling you at 3:00, I'm waiting at the phone at 3:00 for that call. And I know that's not realistic in this life. I know something can happen, but then I get a bit pissy because it's like 3:05. Why haven't you called me? You said you'd call me at 3:00, and then if the call comes in at 3:45, by that stage I'm shitty. And then I'm like, why didn't you call me at 3? You said you were calling at 3. And they said, but it was 3-ish. I said, you didn't say 3-ish. You said you're calling me at 3. So I'm very black and white. So if someone says they're going to do something, now that I'm older, I have two here. I have like good Karina and bad Karina. Good Karina understands that.
Who's talking now?
Kylie. She pops out every so often as well. I do have alter egos. I won't talk about them.
Oh, please.
Oh my God, I've got a porn star name. Her name's Kawanda. K''WHANDA.
Yeah.
Kawanda.
Yeah.
When I ride my Zwift bike, which is, if you don't know, it's an indoor cycle. You're on an indoor cycle, and I race people around the world. It's so much
Oh,
fun.
wow. That's hilarious.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Her name's Casey. So her name's Casey Bowden.
I love it.
Yeah, okay, it's just so weird. So that's Casey. So I've got a few names. And if someone can't pronounce, they'll say Karina and they go, what's your name again? I just go Kate. My name's Kate Cooper. There you go. Cooper's my maiden name. So I've got all these different personalities. What was I talking about before I talked about my personalities?
Well, we were talking about the black and whiteness.
Yeah.
And I'm more of a shades of grey person, but that is because that's my particular nuance that I'm interested in.
Yes.
So it's the thing I hope to focus on. I'm really interested in both sides of the argument. And I think I'm a bit the same as you. If I make an arrangement to be with someone to call them at 3, I want to call them at 3. I don't want to miss that.
And if someone, and if I can't.
I wouldn't let you down. I think I've made
Cool.
arrangements like that with you and always called or said, hey, sorry, my meeting's running late.
Yes.
I'll be another 5 minutes.
That's the thing. If someone just says, oh, I can't call you at 3 because of this reason, that's cool. But then they're like, but I didn't call you at 3 because obviously I was busy. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. I'm black.
It's a respect thing.
Oh my God. There's hardly any respect in the world these days. It's just nuts.
Now you're aging yourself and you're just a baby.
No, I'm not. Oh my God, I'm too fun.
days.
I love birthdays and I don't care about age. I have no issue with getting older and all that sort of stuff. I've only just turned 58 and I'm already telling 2 people I'm nearly 60. So the downside to that is I did that when I was nearly 50. The downside is when you actually turn 50, they go, weren't you 50 a couple of years ago? No, actually that was just me getting prepared for being 50. So now I'm getting prepared for being 60. I don't mind age at all. But the ADHD thing, as a self-employed person, it's actually, there's 2 sides to that. There's the fear, the RSD, that you're going to fail as a business owner or operator.
That's hard. Yeah.
It's really hard. It's not
makes us work harder.
Yeah, it does. And you do work really, really hard. The downside is I throw myself into a new business and it goes great guns, but then I get really bored as it starts establishing. And then I'm like, I'm bored with this. And I can usually only last 5 or 6 years, maybe 7 years in a business. Yeah. And then I get bored and then I have to flag it and try something new. Much to my husband's horror. I'm lucky I've got a very supportive husband. He will be ADHD as well, but he's not. His ADHD is everything has to be in the right space. He's a little bit OCD, a little bit anal, but he's not nuts like I am. I don't mean that badly. If you're listening to this, I think I'm nice crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, crazy is a really interesting word, isn't it? I mean, like it's got a pop culture connotation, but technically, according to the DSM-5, we have a mental health disorder. Now, I don't personally believe that we have a disorder. I think we have a cognitive difference, and that's what neuroscience would say, that we've got a brain architectural difference, and that means differently. Excuse my knee, by the way. I've got a sore back, so it doesn't hurt when I put my knee up here. Right. But it's a very
good-looking knee, by the way.
The thing is, when we're navigating neurotypical systems like the education system, like the health system, like the workplace, in most cases, we have to adjust and shapeshift. Now, we can do that, but if we have to do that all the time, it's exhausting.
Absolutely exhausting.
And workplaces, I know, are struggling to work out how they can engage their neurodiverse people, and some of them are genuinely trying to do it, and that's wonderful. But and there's many good things about workplaces that allow us to do that a bit better, but we're not very good at doing repetitive, boring work. We're much better at doing work that we're interested in, and then we want to keep growing and not slowing. And so actually we need to be able to be in a workplace that can enable us to do that. And I think AI is a real advantage.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. But we embrace it because it can take away the repetitive nature of work and do the really boring entry-level things. But I do think it's a disadvantage in the sense for our young people coming through because they've got to get some experience, and it's hard because all those entry-level roles are going because they're the boring, repetitive roles where you have to sort of learn your work ethic and do the hard yards.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's informed your career because you've actually been able to be a bit entrepreneurial and run your own buses, and you've done that successfully.
Since 1999.
You've just closed the doors on the studio sewing, which you ran successfully for
nearly 8 years. Yeah, so I had
nearly 7 years. That's your 7 year.
No, that was nearly 8 years.
Yeah.
It was 7.5 years. So that's nearly as close to 8 than 7. So no, I had set up a sewing studio and leased some premises. I thought doing it not that I have a problem with working from home because I like working from home, but I thought to be taken more seriously if I had a commercial premises, that would make a difference, and it really did because people they do take you a bit more seriously. So no, I ran that for 7.5 years, ran classes, ran the business, dealt with landlords and all this sort of stuff. I own 2 Peter pits. I'm going to talk about that in a second. I never wanted to have staff again after having the Peter pits. That just did my head in, the staff side of it. But no, the studio was great. But I got my main reason for ending that was I was just getting sick and tired of the lease increases every year, and I didn't want to work harder to cover paying someone else's lease, basically. So I thought, oh my God, I'm going to retire, which is what I've done. And now I'm not doing much. But yeah, we own 2 Peter pits. So I don't think... some people might be different, but my ADHD personality and my traits and stuff don't work well with having staff. I grew up, and that you're probably the same. Our era when we started work in the 70s, I started work in the 80s. You work whether you were dying, unless you were in hospital or dead. You turned up at work. That's just that was how we grew up. That was what we were taught, that you were always at work. And so when I got my Peter pits and these young ones were coming in going, oh, I've got a sore toast, I'm not coming to work today. No, you don't. You're coming to work. I've rostered you on. I expect you there. That's the black and white thing. Yeah. And it was really hard. The other thing is I can't stand theft or dishonesty. I'm not saying white lies to save your ass or something like that, but dishonesty. And we had people that were stealing from us, stealing minor food, major money. And so that was really tough. And so once we got rid of the Peter pits, that was 5 years of hard graft. I just said to my husband, I'm never going to have a business where I have to deal with staff again. It was just too hard. Yeah. It's interesting. We had 3 or 4 that stayed up with us the whole 5 years. And they loved us as bosses. They said we were the best bosses we've ever had. The ones that hated us were the ones that they wouldn't do their jobs. They wouldn't work hard enough, wouldn't do all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I could always stand. I had a couple of ADHD girls and they were quite good.
I've largely got ADHD people in my team. So they are wonderful to work with. Yeah. And I think that guilelessness exists because I trust them and I know that.
Oh, that's the thing. You put so much trust. You don't. You see, I take things at face value. I see people at face value. Now, I'm not saying sometimes I'll meet people and I just don't click with them. And there's something about them that I don't like, but generally they don't like me either. So that's cool. So we just don't get on.
So talk to me about your radar system, because I know that you've mentioned that you understand, you're aware that it's kind of related to the rejection sensitivity disorder, but you have this profound... whether we call it precognition, in other words, you know something's about to happen before it happens, or it's second sight, so you can kind of see that it's about to happen, but you can't necessarily rationally explain it. Yeah. How's that turned up for you?
Oh my God, it's really hard for me to explain that. I feel like I have a sixth sense. Like I actually feel sometimes I'm super spooky. So something will happen, like I'll be in a situation where I can feel something uncomfortable is going to happen because it's not always positive. I can feel something horrible is going to happen. And then what I've started doing as an adult is I'll jot it down. Yeah. That's old fashioned, isn't it? I'll jot it down somewhere like, I think this is going to happen, or I'll put it in notes in there. And then a few weeks later it happens. And I'm like, okay, I just felt that was going to go on. You just pick up. I don't know if it's, I call myself neurospicy because I can feel the change in atmosphere, or I can feel the change in someone's personality. I don't know. I pick up on their, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's their micro expressions actually. You pick up on every single nuance.
Yeah. And you're so hyper aware of what's around you. So I can walk into a room and I know immediately if I've been spoken about. And I'm not talking in a nice way. I can tell immediately if I've been bitched about behind my back, and I'm like, I'm not liking this. That's the RSD can sometimes kick in when that happens, and I can, and if I'm going to say brave enough, but I'm not sure if that's what I'm trying to say. I hope that people that I put my faith into and they're not absolutely have their back. I hope that they're not doing it to me. So I give them a lot of leeway. I get a lot thrown at me before I crack. So once I'll crack, I'm at the end of my tether. So once I'm like, fuck you, I am out of here.
And you've passed the point of no return.
Yeah, I am past the point of no return. And I end friendships. I know this is going to sound, I end friendships or acquaintances quite easily or quite severely once I know I've been wronged. And I have, it's just the sense of fairness. Like people have to be fair to each other.
Well, is it that you then can't trust them anymore? You might not forgive them and move on from it and it won't hold you back.
This forgiveness thing, right? I grew up a Catholic, so we were a very strong Catholic family. So many of us. A big, strong Catholic family. And we were taught to forgive, because if you don't forgive, it eats you up alive. I don't believe that for a second. I don't think some people don't. I don't think some people don't deserve forgiveness. I think that if they've been that horrible to you, you don't have to forgive them. And guess what? My mum used to say, if you don't forgive them, like when we were growing up, and it's not they've been mean to me. Mum would say, well, you have to forgive them because otherwise, you might get struck down by lightning. Guess what? Still here. Haven't been struck down by lightning. There's a lot of people I don't forgive. But I think forgiveness is something that people deserve. No, I don't know if that's the right word.
If someone was to wrong you in some way and then they were to come and apologise genuinely, would you forgive them?
It depends on how genuine. It depends on if I feel that their apology was genuine or not.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people just spout ear. Oh, I'm really sorry I did that.
I mean, I've had this happen to me in a professional context. I've had it happen to me in a personal context. Yes, someone really has mucked up. And what they've done has been really hurtful. It's hurt me.
Yes.
They've judged me in a way that wasn't actually accurate. And they've come to me years later and with tears in their eyes, genuinely saying, I'm so sorry. I made a bad call. That was a bad outcome for you. Would you please forgive me? And I've actually been able to reconnect with them.
Okay.
And but in saying that, there's always a part of you that is now aware that they have the capacity to do
To hurt you, yes.
So you never let them in quite as close again.
Yes, and
but
that's
you
the
do
thing.
forgive them.
Okay.
And it's just that the trust has to be rebuilt. And I always say this, I always go, I absolutely can forgive you, but it might take quite a while for me to rebuild trust with you. That may not even be possible.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think there are some situations where that trust can never be built, rebuilt. I have, and then this goes for family as well. I'm not going to say what, I'm one of 6, so there's a few of us, and one of our family I had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
So why are you encouraged to keep in touch with family when they are not nice to you? And I'm not talking like disagreements. I'm talking like real assholey things. But the picking up on the wrong signals or the wrong vibes. I do call it like I said, it's a blessing and a curse, because you are hyper aware that someone's not being, or they're starting to change their way of thinking about you, or they're starting to angle away from you, and you pick up on that. Really pick up on it before they even know, usually, and you just pick up on the vibes. My vibe radar is really good.
Yeah,
and I don't. I'm really insightful if I can, and I'm insightful when I see groups as well. So running the studio. So the one thing I hated when I had the sewing studio, you weren't allowed to gossip at the studio. There was no gossip. If there was gossip and the person was gossiping, or there was a gossiping person there, they didn't get invited back. It was my business. I had to negotiate, and my classes were regular, and I had the same people coming along.
Group dynamics is so important.
Oh my God! And if someone came in, so then we'd have a really nice vibe, and everyone was getting on very well. They don't have to love each other, but they all got on well. And if someone came in, because I was always inviting new people in, or not, or new people coming along learning, joining the group, if they didn't fit the vibe, it wasn't then necessarily there anything wrong with them. They'd pick up on it as well. They'd say, oh, look, it's not the space for me, or I decided the sewing's not for me, or whatever. It was cool. But if someone came in and started being nasty, then I didn't invite them back. That was my space, and I had to protect the people around me. If there was, the gossipers got kicked out, the nasties got kicked out, because some people are just nasty. They're just wired that way. And unfortunately, that's just what happens. For 7.5 years, there was no bitchiness, there was no nastiness, there was no, if someone started whispering, if I heard whispering, I'd go, what are you guys whispering about? I didn't like whispering, because I think whispering if you're whispering about something, leave the room, basically. Because to me, whispering is always because you don't want someone else to hear for whatever reason. And so,
yeah, and when you're in charge of a group dynamics are really important.
Oh
A
my
lot of
God,
people don't
huge.
understand this, but I think one of the traits of ADHD is that we do pick up on group dynamics. And when we're younger, we may not necessarily even understand what it is we're picking up on or be able to explain it, but we can tell when the energy's off or,
yes,
you know,
oh my
when
gosh.
there's someone who needs to be controlling. And ultimately, a controlling person is actually just insecure. Sometimes someone who is gossiping is actually just wanting to criticize other people to make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
Again, it's insecurity. A lot of these things are understandable reflections of people's pain bodies, and it's a measure of where they're at on their own journey, but that doesn't mean that you can allow that behavior to actually infiltrate a group dynamic when you've got a really good group dynamic. Because I've spent years working in workplaces trying to build really healthy positive cultures, and dealing with those sort of behaviors, you know, you do it inside obviously an employment law context and you do it correctly, but it is actually very hard to give people instant feedback in the moment when their behavior is letting them down. You know, some of the really simple things, like for example, young people who come into the workforce and they haven't developed their social skill set fully. Their frontal lobe doesn't develop properly till they're 28, and so they're more emotional. I know. We worked together when we were so young. And like you, and young people are more prone to stronger emotions, and they're more susceptible to running other people down because they feel inferior and they're insecure and they're not confident. And sometimes they tell lies because they think they can get away with it. So in my role as people and culture or HR manager, it's often been me working with the leader to address those behaviors. And then I've seen some of them just grow and step into a growth mindset and shed that old skin and move from their developmental stage of just lack of maturity, really, where they didn't really understand that everyone could see they weren't telling the truth. I can remember myself when I was a teenager telling terrible fibs and always getting caught out because I was bad at it. I was bad at being
can't
bad.
keep can't keep the old.
But I would only be doing that because I wanted someone to feel better about themselves, not that they wanted them to feel worse about themselves, because I was incredibly hyper aware of people's inner sense of self-esteem.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's the thing with when I always want people to feel good about themselves. That's just what I want to do. I walked through the street. I was telling Sandy a story. I went through the supermarket one day and there was a lady and she was dressed, I just thought her dress was beautiful and she looked really, really lovely. And I went up to her, I said, "Oh, excuse me." And she was horrified because you don't want a stranger tapping you on the shoulder. And I said, "I just want to say to you that you look really, really lovely today." She burst into tears and she said, "I've had the worst morning. I've had the worst news. It's just been dreadful, blah, 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 blah." And she goes, "And you said that and you make me feel amazing." And so I had no idea she was having a bad morning. She looked amazing to me. So it was just, and I see someone with nice shoes on, I'll compliment them. I just want people to feel good all the time.
But I both do this.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a real power in our words. We have a power.
Yeah.
This is not Catholicism. This is AOG stuff, but I just not what it's like. We have the power to bless or to curse.
Yes.
So literally that's group dynamics too. We can either be saying positive things and uplifting each other up and seeing the best in each other, or we can be undermining.
Yeah.
So we pick up on that energy very quickly when there's an underminer in the room and a diminisher. We know.
And I can't in all good faith tolerate that. And the studio people, not everyone could sew well straight away. I mean, sewing takes ages to get used to, by the way. But but I was always encouraging. I'd always say to them, "It's your best work," and I truly believe that was their best work. And the looks on their faces when they thought they'd done a bad job. If they're new at something, you can't expect it to be perfect if you're new at it. And so you just have to buoy people up all the time. And I really enjoy doing that. But then I expect it in return as well. Don't always get it. But I don't know how to explain the hyper aware. It's really the sixth sense. I do feel spooky sometimes, and I know that sounds really weird. And when I say to people, I go, something's happened to me recently, and I knew what the next step was going to be before they did, and we're going to do X, Y, Z. And I went, "Oh, I knew that. I told my husband this morning that was the next thing you're going to do." How could you know that? We hadn't decided. No, because I knew what was coming.
And that's called precognition. Actually, there's a real science behind it because we're so used to we observe patterns.
Yeah, okay.
And so we see patterns often long for other people to see those patterns. Perhaps the people who are inside the patterns can't see the pattern, but will recognize the pattern.
Yeah.
And so we'll pick up and go, oh, that person's a little bit controlling, they feel insecure. That person's a bit of a manipulator because they like to actually be in a certain role in the group. And so we can see those sort of behavioral patterns when other people don't. And it's interesting. Is it nature or nurture because of our DNA? And I think it's a really rich mix of both.
Because you say nature or nurture. My mother is incredibly stubborn. Oh my God. She's so stubborn, but then so am I. And I don't know, is that my personality? I'm pretty, is that my personality? Am I stubborn because that's who I am and that's what my mother's been like and I've learned from her? Am I stubborn because I've got ADHD? I mean, but I have also really I've learnt this. I didn't have it when I was younger. I had virtually no self-respect when I was younger. I'd let people walk all over me. As an adult, I'm like, fuck it. I'm just not going to let you walk all over me. You do something that I don't agree with or it lands badly with me, I'm going to deal with it. And most people can't handle being told that they've hurt you or they've upset you. And people really can't handle it. And I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry because I have to tell you how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to hear how I'm feeling, good or bad, I mean, you love it when I'm telling you, oh my God, this is amazing, la 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 la. But why can't I tell you the other side of it? I'm not angry if you've upset me. I'm telling you this is how you've made me feel.
But people are not going to grow or learn unless they do get feedback.
Yeah.
And that's reality. And we do live in a society that isn't necessarily very good at giving feedback, but we can give really accurate feedback because we see things other people don't see.
Yeah. I feel like I'm always putting my foot in it because I'm not putting my foot in it, but I'll say, I just blurt it out. I don't know what that girl said at Frocktails, but she said something. She goes, "Oh, sorry, I've got autism." She said I shouldn't have said that, or I can't read what she said, but it was really funny, and I'm like, oh, I didn't take it that way at all because I don't think that what she said was horrible or bad or anything. It was just her saying what she felt at the time, and we speak with. Oh my God. The other thing I do is sometimes, and I think something and it comes out my mouth before I even thought about it.
So that's the oversharing.
Oh God, but no, oh my God, I remember being in the insurance industry. Oh my God, square peg, round hole. Oh my God. And I was in a meeting and there's a big group of people and this guy was droning on and on and on and on. I was getting so bored and I was starting to get fidgety and I'm like, this is just going on too long. And I'm sitting there and I said, oh my God, he's still talking. And I thought I was in my head and all these people started laughing like that and I'm like what's funny? And like I had no idea it came out of my mouth and I'm like, okay, something funny, and they're all looking at me. I said, oh crap, did that come out of my mouth? It happens all the time. And I feel like I'm putting my foot in it, but it's just what I'm saying up here comes out. Blah.
I used to say that I would only open my mouth to change feet. Literally. Yes.
But as it
always one.
I'll tell you what the really good thing about this day and age, and although social media is a curse as well as something helpful or something useful, is people are now way more aware of ADHD. I mean, when I was going through, I went through menopause really young. So I had to have a hysterectomy at the age of 38. I was really sick.
That is young.
Yeah, so 38 had a hysterectomy. So I went through menopause early 40, started perimenopause, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
And it would have affected you because your ADHD gets worse when you're in perimenopause. It's very well researched.
The anxiety. And the thing is, up until recently, I don't tell anybody this because it was such a stigma back in the day. It was so bad, but the anxiety that I wasn't able to were days I couldn't leave the house because the anxiety was so severe. It still hits me now. The anxiety is still really bad now. Not always. I know how to control it now. I have to force myself out the door because I'm doing something I like to do. I don't know why anxiety hits me some days. Like some days, yoga is one of my favorite things to do. I wake up on a Tuesday morning, yay, it's yoga. I have thought that for years and years and years and years. Some days I wake up and I'm like, I can't go. And then my other personality goes, no, you're going because it's good for you. And my other personalities are going, but you don't feel like going today. You're going to, you're going to throw up in class. You're going to do this. You're going to pass out. All these ridiculous things that never happen. And then I walk through the room and I do have my yoga teacher is amazing. I've been going to her for so long. The other thing I have to do is I have to be in the same spot at yoga. I get so upset if someone takes my spot. And I know that sounds ridiculous. I have to prepare if the spot's going to be changed. It's so bad one day that I went in there and I wasn't feeling great, but this particular day, and my anxiety and everything was bleh. And that was early on in the menopause stage. And I went into class and Tracy said, when moving class, I picked up my bag and left. I could not handle.
You just couldn't handle it.
I could not handle being in a different part of the room that day.
It's really interesting, isn't it? And I do think back over the course of my life, I used to get terrible PMT.
Uh-huh.
And I was very fortunate with menopause. It was very mild. I didn't have any major symptoms.
16 years
But
later.
I had terrible PMT. And I must say, for those of you who are of the female gender, that once we get to the other side of midlife, it's actually wonderful because pre-menopause and perimenopause, my month would go something like this, and then I'd ovulate, and then slowly it would escalate, and my anxiety would just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then about 3 days before I got my period, I would just be a blithering wreck, and I'd be crying at every sad song and feeling irritated and really
I'm not laughing. I'm laughing from experience.
really short-tempered, like a monster inside me going off, and I didn't know how to handle it. And some days I just literally wouldn't be able to get out the front door. I remember going to a festival, the Greyland Festival one year, and I was right in the worst state of it. And what I hadn't realised, I knew nothing about my empathic radar system, right? And I turned up, it was a wet, rainy day, the Greyland Festival. I had my 2 kids with me, and I was in really bad shape. And my radar system went berserk because everywhere I looked around me, I could feel everyone's feelings, and everybody was feeling down.
Yes.
And so it just started to infiltrate me.
Yeah.
And after about half an hour, I actually developed that, is it agoraphobia, fear of crowds? I literally was struggling to breathe, and I had to get out of there. And when I got out of there, I came right.
Interesting.
And it was interesting. My kids were quite happy to leave because it was a cold, freezing, wet, miserable day. Everybody was off point. And I got out of there and I thought, well, it's just the weather. The weather was terrible. But then I got, why do I feel fine? I'm standing out here and the other side of the park
picking up on
in
everyone's
the rain,
vibes.
and I feel clear again.
Yeah.
And I did not know I had this radar system that let me know how other people were feeling.
Oh, you absorb it.
I did. And I used to think that when I could feel this feeling, it was my feeling.
Yes.
I had no idea it wasn't my feeling. It was just another person's feeling. Now I know to go, oh, I'm feeling a strong feeling. It's randomly come from nowhere.
Who is it?
Who is it?
Yes.
And so now I don't get PMT. I haven't got that layer to try and sort through either. So it's even wonderful. Like I literally feel like my mood is just like this all the time. And I can almost count on one hand the number of times I've cried since I've gone through midlife. Whereas I would be an absolute dribbling wreck every month.
That's interesting. And picking up on people's vibes. When I had the studio and I had all the people, I would, when everyone arrived, they will arrive roughly the same time. If someone, and I always like, hey, how are you? I mean, of course, some days I'd be grumpy or someone would piss me off outside the studio or a tradesman was annoying me or whatever. I couldn't always hide my feelings, but I tried to mask them as much as I could. But I always knew if there was someone in the room that was vibing badly that day or whatever would happen, then I'd just like, oh, what's going on? What's everyone been up to? And you usually found out who it was.
Yeah.
And it was usually some stress from home or something like that. But it would really affect, it would affect me. And you do, it's like you're like a sponge. You're taking in all those feelings. But having a hysterectomy at the age of 38 was one of the best things ever.
Does it stop that hormonal thing?
It did until the horse kicked in.
Yeah.
And then it kicked in. So I was, early 40s and I'm 58 and I'm just going through the end of it now. So it can last a long time. Sorry for you girls. I can't take any medication. I can't take any HRT. Had breast cancer, so just had to go cold turkey on all
so that's another thing we have in common. We both had breast cancer, and
both same boobs.
Yeah, and I know for me, I was working in a particularly stressful environment and a stressful role. I loved my job. It was a great organization. They were incredibly supportive. But because I had this incredibly profound, complex mask that I wore every day because I was so terrified that people would figure out that I didn't know what I was doing. I did actually know what I was doing, but it was just, I needed to do everything perfectly, and that's just not physically possible. And often you're doing new things that you've never done before, and you're having to learn on the job as you go. And so I had this very tough measure on myself, and I think
we're very hard on ourselves.
We're very hard on ourselves.
We're very hard on ourselves.
And I do wonder whether that actually means that we're more prone to stress-induced health issues as a result, because we take everything on so personally. And I know I used to work not so much ridiculous hours, but I used to be thinking about work and how I could do things better all the time I was awake. And so whether I was at work or I was at home, I couldn't turn it off. I was literally thinking about it,
$1 million an hour.
wanting to make it better and wanting to do what I did better, and then beating myself up when it wasn't perfect, and trying to understand it. And I wish I could go back in a time machine
And tell yourself? Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell 20 or mid-20s me that the feelings I had back then were just the way my brain was wired, and that because we used to get ridiculed. Yeah, I don't know. Is ridiculed the right thing? You're always getting attacked. Still as an adult, I'm always feeling like I have to defend myself. You swear too much. You do this. You do that. It's just like, fuck, I'm 58. Just drop it.
Too much.
Too much. I've not been told I'm too much by people. I'm like, well, if I'm too much for you, then I'm not your person, and you're not mine, because you don't say. And I would never in a million years say to someone, you're too much for me. If I meet someone and I don't like something about them, or I don't gel with them for whatever, I'm never going to say anything to them. I'm just going to back away. And I don't understand why. I just put distance between. I just want to put distance between them. Well, what were we talking about before? You said something before.
We were talking about the radar system that we have, and the big feelings, and how we pick up on them, and how we don't necessarily can discern that it's not our feeling. And I didn't realize this for years until I started to unpackage the neuroscience around it and found out about the emotional contagion, and that actually we can read other people's faces and we pick up on the micro expressions. And actually some of the neurochemicals are airborne, and so we know when there's someone that's not trustworthy in the room because there's none of those neurochemicals. And after a while, the precognition that we have allows us to observe patterns of behavior in others.
Yeah. And then you pick up, and that's the blessing side. That's why I ran the studio so successfully, and that's why there was no nastiness, no bitchiness. There was, everyone just got on. If what I'd class as a bad apple, they weren't a bad person, but they just didn't fit in the vibe. You can't have that, because it upsets the whole apple cart.
It does.
And when we were young, in your 20s and 30s, and you haven't quite grasped reality just yet, and you think you have when you're that age. But I did gossip about people, but I was always hopeful that I didn't gossip nasty about them. But when I look back now, I'm like, no, talking about someone behind their back is not a nice thing to do. As an adult, I've learned that's not okay. And that's a part of why I'm just like, I just blurt it out. Tell everybody what I think. I don't tell everyone what I think about them. I don't say, well, I think you're an asshole. Mind you, I really want to. But there's some real assholes out there, just saying. Not that I'm a saint or anything like that. But I do think I'm a good person inside. I do think that my ability to pick up on people's vibes, I will defend friends and acquaintances. I will defend them till the end of the world. And I think that's what part of our personality is. Part of the ADHD.
Part of the ADHD.
Yeah, we just see the good in everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's partly the guilelessness as well. And I think it's a very old-fashioned word, guilelessness, but we basically can't imagine what it would be like to deliberately hurt someone. No. So we don't want to do that. But we also, at the same time, think that everyone's like us, and that they're all going to be treating everyone the same way. And so when someone is deliberately cruel or mean, it's quite a shock to us.
Yeah, and in the workplace, it's like that as well. When someone undermines you. I remember in one of my jobs at Westpac, I've had a lot of corporate jobs, by the way. One of my jobs at Westpac, I came up with a new way of... this was when FPOS was new. That's how old I am. So FPOS had just started coming in, and we were trying to convince our customers to go on to use FPOS because it was going to save them money from credit card fees, blah, blah, blah. So I made up this really cool spreadsheet so that when you go along, I used to punch in my clients, the customers' figures, and I used to go, this is how much money you're going to save if you go into FPOS. And it was always a done deal. Anyway, after using it, and then a colleague of mine said, oh, can I use it? Yeah. Didn't think to tell management about it. He got an award. Every month, a staff member got an award for doing something amazing. He got an award for this amazing spreadsheet that he'd made up and was giving to his colleagues, giving to his customers, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, hang on, that's my award because that's my spreadsheet. The bastard took my idea, ran with it, presented it to management, and he got lauded, and it was all amazing. It all came out that it was mine. I was able to prove that I was the one using it first, but it's just like, why? I would never do that to somebody. Like, I would never have thought of taking someone's idea. I'm too honest in the fact that, oh no, that wasn't my idea, that was John's around the corner, I'm just stealing it from him for the day, blah blah blah. I think that's a real ADHD thing too, is what I give out is what I expect back. But the world's not like that. The world's and I like to call myself neurospicy. I'm like a little bit spicy sometimes.
So, so what are you going to do next?
Oh, look,
Or
I'm
don't you
retired.
know?
Yeah, no, I am retired. I have no idea what I'm going to do next. I'm not interested in working.
Fabulous.
Yeah, something turns out fine. I don't have to work. My husband thinks differently. I've got to do houseworky things. Ugh, that's fucking boring, isn't it? So I now do the ironing, the grocery shopping. Oh, you were talking about crowds. Oh my God, I can't stand, although I'm really, so this is, would you describe me as an extrovert?
Yes, I think so.
I'm an absolute extrovert. Blah! That's me. But I'm also I don't like crowds. So I don't like going into environments. The supermarket does my head in. There are people there. I can do it if you stay away from me and give me space. I can't stand it when I'm looking at the meat section and someone gets up really close to me. It just makes my skin crawl. I don't know why, but yeah, just the crowds.
I don't like supermarkets. I don't like malls.
Oh my God, the malls. Oh my God, I can't stand it. So I have to steel myself okay, you got to go and buy your supermarket. You got to go and buy your shampoo. And this is the shop you got to go to. And I have to talk myself into going to places. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it took me years. I don't know what it is. Is it the fluorescent lighting? Is it the ambience? There's something about it, but it's just it's too much.
Yeah.
So I
think it's the people.
small grocery store or Foursquare where I know everyone, or they're like, we could ignore, hi, how are you? How you doing? I'd rather go there than go into Pack and Save. See, I think we're star shapes, and when we have to sit into a neurotypical system, it's like we're trying to jam ourselves into a round hole.
Yeah, no, that's a really good.
And actually, some of the traits that we have is we're very future strategic. We can see trends. We can hyper focus really fast and do things very quickly. That's our power of our cognition. We've got really good creativity and innovation. We can shape shift when we need to. So we can literally just adapt to the situation. And then we have this thing that is either called second sight or precognition. It's we recognize patterns and nuances and patterns of behavior in people. And so we can kind of pick up on different things. But those are the tips of our star, if you like.
Yeah.
And they're all related to the special things that we're interested in, and each of us is unique with that. And that's kind of in our core self. But we also have the dips of the star. Now, when we have to shrink the tips of the star down to fit into a neurotypical hole, our dips become even dippier.
Yeah.
And I can be a real dipshit, actually, because, where we can hyper focus, I just get in scattered brain fog and I can't think straight. Where we have second sight, we have really bad rejection sensitivity disorder.
The RSD is
it's bad. Where we shapeshift, we're actually really able to mask and be not our true selves in a situation because that's what the situation is requiring of us, which is actually okay in some situations. And I think that's life. We all have to do things we don't like doing.
Oh, that's normal.
We all have to wear hats and do roles that we don't particularly enjoy.
Yeah.
And so being able to shapeshift is actually helpful. We're not chameleons. We just know we can adapt to the situation and do what needs to happen. But actually, it also is the part of us that can mask our ADHD.
Yeah.
And our creativity is absolutely amazing. But the dip to that is that suddenly we can't even, like that. We literally have no way of actually handling. We can't be creative. We're completely stuck.
Yes, I know. I have sat at when I work. I know I have to be somewhere at a certain time and all that sort of stuff. It's always going to happen. But I wake up some mornings and I get out of bed. I'm not a morning person, although my chronotype is morning because I go to bed and I wake up at the same time nearly all the time. I'm not a morning person. If it's before 10 o'clock, please don't ask me questions. Don't talk to me. I can't function too early in the morning.
My poor partner has had to learn that I will forget everything he says before about there.
My husband leaves for work at 6:15 in the morning. Sometimes he tries to have a conversation with me. I'm not even awake. I'm just like, and I know it sounds really, he starts talking, I go, fuck off, just send me a text. I can't, don't tell me things. He's a morning person, as in, bah! As soon as he wakes up. I am not. So we've been together 41 years. It's not like we haven't learned to live like this. I can't remember what I was talking about.
Creativity.
Oh my God. So I consider the drip. I think that's age, or maybe that's ADHD. I lose my train of thought. I consider the breakfast bar, and I can literally think, okay, well, I've got a clear morning. I'm going to do this, and this. I can get to lunchtime, and I haven't actually left the breakfast bar other than to go for a pee. And then I come back, and I'm like, I've just wasted 3 hours, and then I beat myself up for wasting the 3 hours. But that's a real ADHD thing as well.
We get lost.
And the other thing is too, this hyper focus and I go nuts. So I'll do something crafty. Like years and years ago, I did a jewelry making course, which was really interesting. Except for the jewelry making course turned out to be, I had to buy all the equipment. I only had done one class of a 6-week course. I think by class 3, I bought all the equipment. I bought absolutely everything to do with jewelry making. I bought Bunsen burners. Oh my God, I don't know if that's the right word. I bought all the stuff. I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and made like 2 or 3 things. So that's expensive. I went to a candle making course with my husband. It was just around the corner from home. And I was like, oh my God, that was so much fun. Making candles was actually really good. Like $2,500 later, I've got all the equipment and I've made like 5 candles. It would have been just cheaper to buy them. Oh my God, that's ADHD for you, isn't it?
And then you've got your weaving.
Oh yes, so now that's been interesting. So I went to a weaving course in January. Always wanted to try weaving on a loom, throw the yarn backwards and forwards. Always wanted to try it. It was the hardest because I loved it. The first day I thought, not sure about this. The second day was, just fell in love with it. Took all my strength not to buy everything I needed over the course of the next few weeks. I booked myself in for another course, and she only does them in the school holidays. So I knew it was going to be quite a few weeks, and it was really hard. It killed me. I looked at the website of the loom I wanted to buy. I looked at that website probably 100 times a day. Just kept looking at it. I looked on my phone. I looked on my iPad. My husband was wrecked that I didn't dive head first into that. But I was gifted a loom. So I ended up getting someone that gifted it to me. So I thought, that's the universe telling me that I should take up this hobby. And then I found a spinning wheel. And I'm going, so I used to have goats. We lived on land and I had goats and they were amazing. We had Angora goats, which produce mohair wool. I've got about 50 kilos of mohair wool in the garage, and I'm going to get it. I'm going to spin it.
I should give you some of us fur. People make jerseys out of that.
when you get shorn.
Yeah.
When you get sheep get shorn, goats get shorn, he gets shaved.
Now I'm very aware of time because you've got a deadline.
I say
we've just been riffing on here for ages.
My deadline has been Saturday. I said to Sandy, I can come to your place, I can be there by 1:00, but I need to leave by 3:30 because I've got to get on the road before the traffic after the school traffic, before the normal traffic. And I went blah blah blah, and then I went, I knew most people I just say I have to leave at 3:30, but I knew you would appreciate the full version or something, didn't I? That's fucking nuts, isn't it?
It made perfect sense, and it meant it stuck in my head. So thank you so much for coming and sharing today. It's been really awesome hearing the parallels, filling in the gaps, and just sharing your ADHD lived experience story. It's been hugely advantageous in that you've been able to do creative entrepreneurial ventures throughout your life and your career. You have found it a struggle to work in corporate, but you then had huge success. Karina was always very successful at what she did and actually really highly regarded, even though she had this rejection sensitivity disorder by imposter syndrome, which went berserk all the time. But as it turned out, I carved out a good career in corporate and in SME. But we were our own worst critics. What would be the one piece of advice you would give a young person or a parent who's trying to work out how to direct their young ADHDer?
That's so hard.
Before we close up today, with your wisdom of lived experience.
Just don't let the buggers get you down. Honestly, my entire life I've been, you're to this, you're to that, you're to the other. You're not to anything. You're perfect. And it becomes an absolute advantage as you get older and you learn to use it to your advantage. So it to me, it really is a gift being this crazy. And I shouldn't say the word crazy. That's how I think. That's how I just think we are so gifted, being able to see things, being able to read a room. We're really good people. We're really good people.
Yeah.
We make people feel good. We will always fight. Well, I always fight for the underdog, and I think you're the same as well.
Very much
so use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
Don't let you down.
And one of the advantages, which we've explored a lot today, is this ability to read the room, to understand group dynamics, to pick up on undercurrents, and to actually be able to bring out the best in people, but also to be able to be quite direct with people who are behaving badly. And that's not necessarily because they even know they're doing it. No, it could be trapped. It could be their pain body causing them to act out in a certain way, but it could also be that they have some narcissistic tendencies. And either way, we seem to pick up on that. Yeah. And I call someone that way an emotional vampire or a energy vampire.
Yes, you do. And I think that's a great way to look at it, because they are literally sucking
Yeah, and they're having that effect on everyone.
Yes,
So
yes,
I
yes,
can
yes.
notice it when that occurs.
Yes.
And
sometimes that bad apple, what I class as a bad apple, if they stay in the environment too long, it just brings the whole thing down.
it does.
And it just
Yeah.
collapses. And
Yeah.
I've seen it in workplaces.
Yeah.
I've seen it in social circles.
Yeah.
And what amazes me is management in workplaces, management never target or never manage the vampire. It's always everyone else around that suffers. And I think from their perspective, it's just easier to manage, to keep the peace with the difficult person, and everyone else can just suffer, basically.
Maybe they don't recognise it and they're unable to tell.
Oh, yeah, because we're the one recognising it.
Here we are. It's what we have a special uncanny ability to do.
Yeah.
And I never knew that that's what it was. And there's a lot of research out about it now. If anyone wants to read more about it, I'm going to put some links on this podcast. But Dr. Judith Orloff, who wrote the Empath Survival Guide, her work is really profoundly good. She talks about picking up on this thing. She calls it second sight. There's a lot of research around precognition now, where they understand that some of us have this precognition where we're picking up on patterns of behavior.
Yeah.
And that precognition can also be useful in terms of future trends and what's going on globally, what's going on in the markets, those kind of things. And so I've had a lot of ADHD adults who actually know how to use this. And when you see it as a gift and you can hone it and refine it, it really can become a powerful gift. Otherwise, instead of taking you to the tip of the star, it takes you to the dip of the star.
Yeah.
And that dip is that imposter syndrome, the rejection sensitivity disorder, which can easily hijack us. But actually, we're very capable of being able to read the trends and see what's the future's likely to look like. What's hard for us is that we can't necessarily understand how we know.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. But I also think young ones, if you're watching this and you're like, you've been just recently diagnosed, we come from an era where there was stigma around it. We come from a era you don't tell people, and I still feel that to this day. I still feel there's very few people. Hello, everybody. There's very few people that I tell that this is what I have, or this is who I am, because sometimes they use it against you. They'll think, like, I've had this thrown in my face in the past where I've reacted to something bad. I've been treated badly. I've reacted to something bad. Oh, that's just your ADHD. No, don't throw that in my face. I'm reacting bad because you've not been very good to me, or you've been horrible, or whatever. But there's so much more awareness around it now. There's so much more acceptance. I think you're coming into an era where it's going to be such an advantage, because you can use it to your advantage now, because it's not going, you don't have to hide it.
Exactly.
We came from an era where it was, I mean, I got diagnosed in the mid 2000s, and there was no way on this earth I was going to tell anybody. And it's only
a career limiting move.
It was career limiting. If you had it on if you have it on your medical records or your CV, or you could just see people's faces, and I confide in very few people that are close to me that this is who I am. Because you know that if they can use their bad behaviour against you and then say, oh, you're just reacting because of this, or you're reacting.
And a lot of parents are stuck in this quandary of, do I get my child diagnosed, or do I, give them more support and more coaching and more training in order for them to actually be able to design a really good lifestyle.
But the big thing we always talk about is the masking and how exhausting it is to fit in.
Yeah. And even on the meds, they're going to need support.
Yes, of course.
To get to know how they can work and how they can operate, because that allows them to fit into a neurotypical model of learning.
Yes.
But actually what would be better for them, and they may need the meds anyway, is to have a neurodiverse way of learning. But I talk about that in my book, which I am editing at the moment and publishing soon. But thank you so much, Karina, for coming in today and sharing your story.
I like talking. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.